Hi, I'm Sidra, and today we are going to take a brief tour to programming in Go and some functional style code. Before diving any further, little bit about me. I'm a developer and tech enthusiast who have been working in tech space for 3 years now. During this time, I worked on both front-end and back-end applications. Also, I created my channel Geek Strengths to share my knowledge and learning with all the developers and geeks out there. Plus, I love working alongside communities. That's why I work as I'm Remarkable Facilitator to build confidence among underrepresented communities. So, this talk is very helpful for people who are just getting started with Go or want to learn the design philosophy behind it. The talk is divided into four parts. The part 1 and 2 contain brief concepts of Go, the design philosophy, and its core concepts. The part contain what functional style code is and how we are going to compare it with normal Go code. And fourth part is going to be our conclusion of this talk. So before anyone or any person learns a programming language, he or she needs to know why he should learn it or what is the future for this language. Go was created in 2006 when dual core processors were released and Google was facing scalability issue. And no programming language out there, C++, C, Java, Python, was able to fulfill the need of scalability. That's why Go was created keeping scalability in mind. So in 2007, Google started using it internally, but after 2 years of using it, they released it to open source community and they took it very well. Other than that, Go is general purpose programming language. You can use it to do anything. You can build servers that are scalable, you can build command line tools, or even you can do machine learning with it. So, all of these USPs make Go a very attractive language for companies like Adobe, YouTube, Uber. So, how are these companies using it? Uber is using it to manage their microservices architecture. YouTube is using it for the same purpose. Adobe is using it for handling their servers. So, because of all these reasons, it is one of the highest paying programming language for developers. Let's get started with the Go and move with the flow. Okay, so right now there are so many programming languages out there that and there are so many new features added to these languages that one feel like he's drowning in these languages, he can't keep up. So the thing about Go, we can look at it as all the things that it doesn't provide. So it first of all, it doesn't have a fancy virtual machine like all the language like Python, JavaScript, or Java. It although it has its own compiler and its large code bases can be compiled in like in under seconds. So, exceptions. All the other languages like Java, Python, or JavaScript provide handling exceptions one way or another. For example, there is an option feature. There might be something, or there might be there might be no something. So Java is Go does not do that, but rather it allows you to handle the exceptions yourself, and it allows the function to return two values at a time rather than one, and you have to handle it yourself. Overloading. Oh, Go does not provide a way to do inheritance. There is no overloading, method overloading, function overloading, or operating overloading. However, it do provides interface inheritance using structs. Immutables. It does not provide any immutables. It do have constants, but it is only strings or numbers. It Go does not have enumeration also. Generics. It is rather debatable feature that Go is not providing, and there are so many articles out there that's debating that there should be there. So Go does not provide a way for a user to define their own user data type. It do have channels, that is a generic data type, but not yet. So we have looked at all the things that Go doesn't provide. Now let's look at the things that Go does provide. So it do have a collector that is pretty fast, and it is very cool feature to have, because then you don't have to clear out the memory and don't have to care about the memory leakage. Also, it do provide control structures like if, for, switch, and it has very good go-to features. For example, in Visual Basic language, the go-to was rather very badly implemented, but Go has very well behaved go to statement, but it does not provide any do while loop. Access control, you do have a way to manage your scope and import and export packages. Concurrency, yeah, it is the one of the best unique selling point of Go. Because of it, it was developed. So it do provides a way to utilize all of your cores. It has Go routines to do concurrent programming, channels, and select statements. So so far we have covered what are the things that Go provides and what are the things that Go doesn't provide. Now let's do functional programming. So uh, some things that come in a person's mind when he thinks about functional programming. These are the misconceptions that it is hard and it is only used for academia, but it is not really true. The misconception that is that it is hard comes from the fact that you usually people usually start with object oriented programming language. In case if we are taught like functional programming language in the start, it will be easy. So let's look at what actually functional programming says. So, functional programming is a declarative style of coding in which we say that do this but don't tell it how to do it. And some of the characteristics of functional programming languages are first class functions, higher order functions, and immutable data, and pure functions. So, in normal programming language, we do deal with objects and classes, but in functional programming language, we only deal with functions. There are no concept of classes and object. And there's concept of immutable data that once you define, you cannot change it. For example, when we are programming in JavaScript, it's very hard to keep track or debug your code because you have to keep track of the data, how it's being changed, or where it is being changed. So that immutable data saves you all the hardships. Plus the pure function. So pure function is the basic principle of functional programming language, and what it says is what whenever you input the same value to a function, it returns the same output. And plus, you don't do loops in functional programming, but rather you do recursion. And you usually have built in functions already that you use to write clean code. So, here's an example of Go code on the left and the right. On the left hand side, we have normal Go code that's in like imperative style, that is usual normal way of or coding. And on the right hand side, we have declarative functional style coding. So let's talk about purity of a function. When we look at the variable sum, its value is changing outside its scope. The scope of the sum is the value of the sum is being changed inside the for loop, and it is really hard to keep track of it. Although two functions are doing the same thing, but it's rather hard for like the left hand side of the code to keep track of the sum, and it returns same where same like sum of all the numbers that are even between range of 1 to 10. But if we look at the right side, we only have functions. We see like, okay, we have integers between range minus 10 to 10, and take an absolute and filter functions and return us that are divisible by 2. So if you get used to functional programming, it is rather easy to think this way rather than thinking in an imperative style of code. Okay, we have covered so far uh, core concepts of Go, what Go provides and what Go doesn't provide, and how we can write code in Go using functional style and non-functional style. So we saw that the code readability was really easy while we were doing code in functional style. The code in non-functional style was rather hard. So I think it was really helpful for you guys to understand all of these concepts, and looking forward for your feedback. Have a nice day.